All right, ready for a deep dive? Today, it's a real David versus Goliath story. Citibank versus Natrajan Bohidar. It's a big international bank, going up against just one guy.
Yeah.
And our source,
Yeah.
the actual 2014 court judgment, straight from consumercourt.in, an Indian consumer court website. So, did Citibank play fair? Or did they unfairly repossess Mr. Bohidar's car? Let's find out.
I think what's so interesting about this case is it really shows you, how much power these big institutions can have, especially when it comes to, your money. It makes you wonder about fairness and, what happens when things go wrong between a giant company and, a regular person.
Yeah, it's like a financial thriller, right?
Yeah.
Car loans, repossessions, everyone's saying something different. It all started back in 2000 when Mr. Bohidar got this car loan from Citibank. 59 monthly installments, pretty standard. And for a while, everything was fine.
Yeah, you can see in the court documents he made his payments for years, no problem.
But then, September 2004, things changed. Mr. Bohidar says he switched from those automatic payments to paying by check. And this is where the stories, Citibank's and Mr. Bohidar's, they totally split.
Yeah, he claims he told them, stop taking money from my ABN AMRO account automatically. He even says he gave them 9 post-dated checks for the rest of the loan.
But get this, Citibank says, nope, never got any instructions to stop those withdrawals or to use any checks.
Oh, wow. This is why you've got to have proof, especially with money stuff. What if he'd sent everything certified mail, return receipt requested? Hard to argue with that.
Right. But this was 2004. Maybe certified mail wasn't as common then.
Yeah.
So the court's got to figure out who's telling the truth.
Exactly.
And then, June 2005, things get serious. Only 4 or 5 payments left on the loan, and bam, the car's repossessed.
Wow.
And he says they took it by force, no warning, nothing.
You can imagine how upsetting that would be, right?
Totally.
It's important to know that in India, there's this legal term, deficiency in service, meaning a company messed up, didn't do what they were supposed to, and the customer got hurt because of it. So from Mr. Bohidar's point of view, taking the car without telling him, that's definitely deficiency in service.
Makes sense. But of course, Citibank says, hold on, we followed the rules, send him a notice before we took the car. 2 sides, 2 stories, both think they're right.
High stakes, too.
Absolutely.
To make matters worse, after they sold the car, Citibank said he still owed them 5,000 rupees. Understandably, Mr. Bohidar was furious. He felt like they did him wrong, and he decided he was going to fight back, demanding 30 lakh rupees in compensation.
30 lakh? That's a lot. He wasn't just trying to get the car's value back. He wanted them to pay for the trouble they caused.
Absolutely what the Indian courts call mental agony.
Right, mental agony.
It means they understand that these situations can mess with your head, not just your wallet. This case, it didn't just stay local either. It went all the way up the Indian court system. Started at the district forum, then the state commission, and finally, the National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission, or NCDRC, like the Supreme Court for consumers.
Wow, up the ladder, each step higher and higher.
Yeah.
And that's where we're focused, right? The NCDRC, their final decision, it's like a keyhole into the whole case.
Exactly. You see what both sides argued, what evidence they looked at, and why they decided the way they did. And let's just say, it doesn't go great for Citibank.
Ooh, cliffhanger. Gotta wait for part 2 to hear what happens.
This whole thing really shows how important it is to, keep things clear, communicate well, and have proof when it comes to money matters.
Right, because Citibank, they were adamant. They said, we never got those instructions to stop the automatic payments or about those checks.
Right.
But, and this is a big but, the court noticed something. Citibank tried to take those payments automatically 4 times. Even after the date, Mr. Bohidar says he canceled that authorization.
Yeah, that's not a good look. Makes you think maybe they weren't checking for customer instructions as carefully as they should have.
Yeah, if they were really paying attention, why keep trying to take money they weren't supposed to?
Exactly.
And then there's that pre-sale notice, the one Citibank said they sent before taking the car. Well, guess what? They couldn't show the court a copy.
Oh, come on. You'd think that'd be standard procedure, right? Keep a copy for your records.
Seriously. It's almost like they weren't expecting the court to look so closely.
Makes you wonder.
This whole case just screams, keep good records, people. Loans, contracts, anything important, keep a paper trail.
It's like insurance. You might not need it, but when you do, you're really glad you have it.
And if you're not sure, talk to a lawyer. Someone who knows the ropes.
Always good advice.
The court also wasn't happy that Citibank didn't use those post-dated checks Mr. Bohidar said he gave him, especially since the amount he owed wasn't that much.
Right. You gotta wonder, why go through all the hassle of taking the car, selling it, all that, when they could have just cashed the checks.
Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Maybe they just wanted to stick to the rules no matter what, even if it meant causing trouble for Mr. Bohidar.
Yeah, and speaking of trouble, the court didn't forget about all the stress this caused him.
Mental agony, right.
Exactly.
That's really important. Shows they get it. This wasn't just about money. It was about being treated fairly.
Absolutely. So after all that, the evidence, the arguments back and forth, the NCDRC finally made their decision. And remember that cliffhanger? Well, Citibank didn't win this one.
No, they didn't.
The court said they were deficient in service, especially how they repossessed the car.
Basically saying, Citibank, you didn't handle this right.
Right. They saw how much this hurt Mr. Bohidar, and they wanted to make it clear. Consumers have rights.
And what about the money? Remember he asked for a lot?
He did. And the court didn't give him everything, but it was still a big win. He got 3 lakh rupees plus interest to cover his losses, then 40,000 for the mental agony, and another 10,000 for his legal fees.
Wow.
So not everything, but still a victory. Shows you even one person can stand up to a huge company and win if they feel like they've been wronged.
It's inspiring, in a way.
It is. It shows you can fight for what's right.
But it also makes you think, was this really justice? Did the money truly fix what happened?
Those are good questions.
And what can we all learn from this so we can protect ourselves as consumers?
Yeah, let's dig into that a bit more, see what lessons we can take away from this whole thing. It really makes you think, about what this all means for consumers, for all of us.
Absolutely. Like, it's a reminder, know what your rights are, especially when you're dealing with money, loans, contracts.
Yeah, like don't just sign anything, right?
Yeah.
Read everything carefully, ask questions, make sure you understand what you're getting into.
It's like, imagine a loan agreement is like a treasure map.
Oh, I like that.
All those words, but hidden in there, are things that could really help you or hurt you if you don't know what they mean.
So the more you know, the better, right?
Definitely. It's like having the right tools so you don't get taken advantage of.
And if something feels wrong, if you think your rights were violated, don't just sit there. Get help. There are people who can advise you, consumer protection agencies, lawyers. They know what to do.
In this case, it shows how important communication is. Everything out in the open, everyone understands, especially with money involved.
Because if you don't talk clearly, things can go south real fast, like what happened to Mr. Bohidar.
Exactly. And even if you're trying to work things out nicely, keep records of everything. Emails, letters, notes from phone calls, it's your backup if things go wrong.
And Citibank versus Bohidar, it proves, even big companies, they have to answer for what they do.
No one's above the law, at least in theory.
And I think it's great that the court recognized how much stress this caused him. Not just the money, but the mental part.
Mental agony, they called it.
Yeah, it shows they understand that these situations, they can really mess with you.
So if we're thinking about takeaways for our listeners, what can they learn?
Yeah, what's the big picture?
Know your rights, first and foremost. Understand those agreements before you sign anything. Keep good records, everything, just in case. And don't be afraid to get help if you need it. There are people who can help you fight for what's right.
This whole deep dive into Citibank versus Natrajan Bohidar, it's been a real eye-opener.
It is. It shows how complicated consumer rights can be, how important it is to talk clearly and keep track of everything, and that even big companies, they can be held accountable.
So be informed. Know your rights, and remember, there's help out there if you need it.
Read that fine print every time.
That's it for our deep dive today. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep learning, keep asking questions, and see you on the next deep dive.